Today on Time About the Movies, Happy New Year! Enjoy a crappy ensemble romantic comedy from director Gary Marshall, who, man, he's fallen on hard times in the last few years of his career. We'll talk about New Year's Eve, but it's not the only big comedy bust of the weekend. Jonah Hill stars in a much raunchier version than Adventures in Babysitting, because if we know anything from Due Date the year before, remaking a classic comedy from the 80s and making it even raunchier and gross is always the right way to go. No, it's not. We'll talk about The Sitter, and we'll also talk about some indie films, some Oscar contenders, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, and we also have Charlize Theron starring in Jason Reitman's latest film, Young Adult. December 9th, 2011, we're coming down to the end of the road here for a very, very rough year of movies, but hey, second half's been better than the first half. December 9th, 2011, on Time About the Movies, coming up next.
Nothing beats New York on New Year's Eve.
That's deep, Robert De Niro. Too bad that that's nowhere in the movie. In fact, that scene in particular is not anywhere in this film, which is one of the many flaws of this film. Welcome to Time About the Movies, and today we are taking a look at the 4 films that wrap up December 9th, 2011. And our first film is, of course, New Year's Eve, which is another one of these ensemble comedies like Valentine's Day, where you have this star-studded cast in all these different roles with these little side stories. And if you thought Valentine's Day was a little bit was going way too far, strap yourself in for this one. So where do I begin? This is going to be a long one, so bear with me. Set during New Year's Eve in New York City, this movie follows several people and how the day affects them. Kim is a single mother who still thinks of her daughter Haley as a child who wants to go out with a boy that she could kiss at midnight. Kim's played by Sarah Jessica Parker. Haley is played by Abigail Breslin. Claire, who's in charge of the city's annual tradition, played by Hilary Swank, the ball drop on Times Square. And when something goes wrong, she has to ask an electrician who was fired to come and fix it. Laura, a chef who is cooking the New Year's Eve party for a record company who runs into Jensen. Laura's played by Katherine Heigl. Jensen's played by John Bon Jovi. Her ex, who's a singer and performing at the party. While he tries to apologize for how things ended, she refuses to accept it. Ingrid, a woman who works at the record company, played by Sofia Vergara, after having a near-death experience, decides to quit her job and asks the young messenger, Paul, to help fulfill her resolutions. I'm sorry, that's not Sofia Vergara. That's Ingrid's Michelle Pfeiffer, and Paul is Zac Efron. That I did remember. At a hospital, Stan, a man who's in the final stages of cancer, played by Robert De Niro, only wishes to see the ball drop. Also, Griffin and Tess, played by Jessica Biel and Seth Meyers, are a couple who are expecting one to be the ones who give birth first after New Year because of the available cash prize, but another couple is about to give birth. Starting to see the problems of the movie yet? We're not even halfway through this synopsis yet. Randy, played by Ashton Kutcher, because he was in the last 2 movies like this. He's just not that into You and Valentine's Day, so fuck it, throw him in there. But Ashton Kutcher plays a man who's not exactly fond of the holiday because of something that happened, finds himself trapped in an elevator with a singer played by, you won't believe this, Lea Michele from Glee, who was one of Jensen's backup singers when he performs at Times Square. Also, Sam, the son of the owner of the record company who is out of town, is trying to get back to the city so he can give a speech at the party, but when he has an accident, since it's a holiday, his car can't be fixed, so he hitches a ride with some people going into the city, but it seems he had another reason why he needs to go back. So yeah, let me just run down this cast list for you. Halle Berry, Jessica Biel, John Bon Jovi, Abigail Breslin, Ludacris, Robert De Niro, Josh Duhamel, Zac Efron, Hector Elizondo, Katherine Heigl, Ashton Kutcher, Seth Meyers, Lea Michele, Sarah Jessica Parker, Michelle Pfeiffer, Til Schweiger, Hilary Swank, Sofia Vergara. There's your reasons why you should never ever see this movie, because good lord, this is about as bad as you think it would be. I mean, if you thought Valentine's Day was rough, you're not going to last halfway through New Year's Eve. I'm telling you, you're not going to do this, because... And let's just get to the biggest thing that's wrong with this. It's Gary Marshall. This guy has had a legacy of making great movies in the past. Beaches, Pretty Women, Nothing in Common, Overboard, Frankie and Johnny, The Princess Diaries, Dear God, which most people will be saying when they watch this movie, Dear God. Excuse me. And now, when you think of Gary Marshall's legacy as a director, you don't think about those classic movies. No, 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 no. You think of the guy that made 3 generically horrendous comedies with every major star in Hollywood and no story whatsoever. Nobody is likable in this movie. Not one bit. Not in this movie, not in Valentine's Day, and not the last thing that he unfortunately forced into with Mother's Day. These characters are some of the most blandly written and selfish characters you will ever see in a romantic comedy. Some of the reasons behind the characters' actions are so stupid. The biggest one is easily the couple who are about to have a baby. The fact that they're rushing this, so not because they want this over with so quickly because they want to get ready to raise a child. No, 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 no. They're doing this to win a cash prize. It's not only stupid, but it makes it pretty damn selfish on this couple. I mean, they just want to have a baby just for the money. They don't care about being parents. It's the ultimate form of commercialism at its absolute worst. And it's the cold-blooded reality of real-life parents nowadays. Like, I feel like I work in a grocery store, and I feel like every time I see people with kids that don't know how to behave and all that, and the parents just don't do anything, because that happens more times than you think, I swear to God, it really does feel like these people do not want to be parents for the sake of being able to raise a family. They want parents so they can use these kids as accessories or reasons for self-gain, if you will. But it's just really, really rough seeing it in real life. It sucks seeing it in a lighthearted romantic comedy like this. This is why I never want to have kids in this world. It's just I mean, it's just there's so many complicated things there, and that's just one of the many, many problems here. And again, Seth Meyers, I guarantee you, once again, he was calling Lorne Michaels and saying, "Hey, Lorne, you got anything for me? Because I can't do this anymore." I mean, technically, he was still on Saturday Night Live up until he got the Late Show, so I guess he really wasn't too completely looking for work. But the movie just doesn't work because you don't like anybody in this movie at all. They're bland people. There's nothing about their lives that are that interesting that you want to follow them through. It is written as such a lazily written film. Like, their attempts at comedy is like Mamma Mia levels, where comedy is I've said it before and I'll say it again. The power of comedy comes from misery. You can't write comedy as happy. Like, you can't write comedy as blandly as this. This is terrible comedy. And nobody in this movie feels like they want to be in here. Nobody feels like they have something to gain from this. You could just tell that the people in this movie were just given a paycheck and say, "Come on in and do this. Stay here for a day. Let's make a quick movie out of this." This movie is awful, man. This is worse than Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day at least was trying to do something with its stacked cast. This is literally scraping the bottom of the barrel. The jokes are not funny. The cast in this is just terrible. They're so poorly written. They're only there to collect a check and get out of here. It's false sympathy on every single level. This movie is the ultimate form of commercialism at its absolute worst. New Year's Eve is awful. Avoid this movie like the plague. I am begging you to do that. And you can also do the same thing with our next movie too, and that's Jonah Hill, in a movie that clearly was filmed this year. I mean, why would it look like that? I mean, it's not like nobody saw him in Moneyball, where he looked like he was much skinnier than he was in The Sitter.
What are you doing in here?
I thought they borrowed.
Oh, that's very cute.
Because we apparently didn't learn our lesson from Due Date the year before. No. We just couldn't accept the fact that trying to do a much more raunchier and grossed out remake of a classic 80s movie like we did with Due Date and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was just a bad idea altogether. No, we gotta do this to Adventures in Babysitting, a movie that was rated PG back in the day, but this was 80s PG, where you could pretty much get away with pretty much whatever you wanted to in 80s PG. That worked back then. This does not, and yeah, this was clearly a film that was made way before Jonah Hill lost all that weight from Moneyball. I mean, this feels like a much different Jonah Hill than what we saw before than what we saw before in Moneyball. Like, this feels like a film that was made back in 2009 or 2010. But Jonah Hill plays a slacker college student who, after being suspended, is forced by his mother to fill in for a babysitter that calls in sick. And during that time, he takes his charges along for his extensive criminal escapades. First of all, slacker college student. We just saw him as the analytics guy in Moneyball. This was filmed 2 years ago. This was sitting on a shelf at 20th Century Fox for years. It had to have. It may not say it here on Wikipedia, but I'm sorry. There is no convincing that this film was not shot 2 or 3 years ago. I'm sorry. You just cannot accept me to believe that this film was made in 2011 and was clearly made to get out there because it made so much sense. Because Jonah Hill, Jonah Hill at the time, he was very young. He's young enough. I mean, he's about 30 years old when this movie. He's near 30 years old when this movie came out. Of course, people will buy him as a college student. Get the fuck out of here with that. And we could buy all this if the movie was funny, and it's just not. It suffers from a lot of the same problems that Due Date had the year before. It's taking a classic film from the 80s, trying to add more stupid gross-out jokes, stupid raunchy humor. I mean, I stopped the trailer just before the scene where the little girl's just like, they're in the car, and she's just like, I sharted. It's just like, I mean, I could do it right now, but, I could put the middle finger up there right now, but I don't know, yeah, screw it, I'll do it anyway. There you go. That's what I have to say to a movie like this. Yeah, F you for that. It's just gonna be a bitch trying to edit the black bar on there again, because it was like that last time with my finger moving around like that. But you get the idea. This movie is pretty much garbage. This movie sucks. It's not funny. There's nothing about it that makes it work. It feels like a film that was clearly made years ago. It was sitting on a shelf at 20th Century Fox, and somebody saw it and said, let's put it out there. And the worst part about it is, this is directed by David Gordon Green, whose last movie was the funny Pineapple Express. Has made a lot of good stuff before then, since then, but this was pretty bad. This is even worse than the last movie he made before. I forgot that he did Your Highness, too. Like, actually, I was going to say it's not as bad as that one, but let's be honest. They're both just as bad. Your Highness suffers a lot of the same problems as The Sinner does. It takes something that we've seen done before and adds pointless gross-out humor to it. It's not funny gross-out humor. Like, I can't even tell you which one's even worse than that. I would say, if you had to pull my arm back and say which one's worse, I'd probably say Your Highness, because there was much more ambition to it. This one feels like it's a much smaller budgeted film, so on that level, I give it that. But at the same time, it's not enough for me to say that it's good. This movie just is awful stuff. Just terrible. Not much more to say about it. It's pure garbage. So let's try to turn the tide around here. Let's get to some good movies finally. Let's go ahead and move on to our next movie that we have here, and that is Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Rated R. In select theaters now. Everywhere January 6th.
Which in reality sounds like something that Andrew Dice Clay would have used in one of his comedy bits back in the day. Yo, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, how I wonder what you like that type of thing. You get the idea. But in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, this is a Cold War film set in the 1970s in London, and it follows the hunt of a Soviet double agent at the top of the British Secret Service. It features a lot of veteran actors: Gary Oldman, Colin Firth, Tom Hardy, John Hurt, Toby Jones, Mark Strong, Benedict Cumberbatch, Kieran Hines, David Denzik, and Kathy Burke among the cast. And, excuse me a second. I had to burp there for a second off camera, sorry. But this is based off of a book by the same name by John le Carre, and also was originally a TV adaptation, too, back in the 1970s. And this one's a very interesting movie. Not for the movie itself, but just from the reactions from people when it came out. I mean, it was a highly praised movie when it came out, but I know a lot of people that saw this movie and really did not like it at all. Like, they were really just coming out of it going, like, that was not as good as people made it out to be. Which is funny, because when I say that about other movies that come out, I get the same thing. It's just like, you're the crazy one for not liking this movie. Well, I'm sorry, I tell you. Yeah, I didn't like it. And it's weird, because with this one, it's just kind of like, it's fine. I mean, it's not the best movie, but it's not a bad film either. I think it was because it was heavily overhyped when it came out. Like, everyone was considering to be, a high Oscar contender. And it did get a couple of Oscar nominations for Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Original Score, and Gary Oldman got a Best Actor nomination. But other than that, I mean, it's fine for what it is. It's not a movie I would watch over and over again, but for what it is, I was expecting a film that, I was expecting a much better film, but as it is, it's perfectly salvageable. It's a solid looking period piece spy film, and the cast overall is great enough to make it stand out on its own. Yeah, not really much more to add to it per se. I mean, it's a movie that I could kind of see where people are coming from by saying it's not that great, but I don't know. I thought it was alright for what it was. So anyway, that's Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. So let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here, and that's Jason Reitman's latest film, Charlize Theron and Patton Oswalt in Young Adult.
Young Adult, rated R, in theaters December 16th.
Of course, leave it to Jason Reitman to have the best movie of the entire weekend. I mean, that's compared to what we had. I mean, that's really not much of a surprise at all. But Charlize Theron, she stars in this movie as a 37-year-old woman incapable of happiness. She has had one failed marriage with no romance on her immediate horizon. She ghostwrites a young adult series of books, which is just being canceled due to low sales, and she's in the process of writing the last book, for which she's having a mental block. She lives vicariously through Kendall Strickland, the teenage female heroine in her books, and like Kendall, she believes her high school years were the best years of her life when she was the prom queen. When she receives news that her high school beau, Buddy Slade, and his wife Beth Slade have just had their first child, Mavis takes as a sign that she and Buddy are meant to be together. As such, she devises a false pretense to travel from Minneapolis back to her hometown of Mercury, Minnesota, to reclaim Buddy from Beth. As Mavis slyly, or not so slyly, does whatever she can to hang out with Buddy, even in Beth's company, if need be. She also runs into another high school colleague of hers, played by Patton Oswalt. Patrick Wilson's the guy that she's trying to get with, I'm sorry. She barely remembers Matt until she is reminded that he was the hate crime kid, i.e., he was beaten almost to death by the school jocks who believed he was gay, which he's not, which has left her, among other things, needing to walk with a brace. Matt ends up being Mavis' drinking buddy and confidant. Matt in turn tries to be Mavis' voice of reason and gets her out of her delusional state about Buddy and get a grip on reclaiming her life as a functioning adult. And really, yeah, it's what you expect from a good Jason Reitman movie. I mean, this isn't quite as strong as his other movies like Thank You for Smoking, Juno, and Up in the Air, but it's still a really damn good movie, and it still is a film that shows that, hey, this is nepotism at its absolute best, man. I mean, this is a guy who's definitely very much up there with his father in many, many ways. In fact, a lot of the Reitmans out there are very popular and very good overall, but it works because you got a great cast to work with here. Charlize Theron is great in here. Patton Oswalt, Patrick Wilson. You have Elizabeth Reeser, Colette Wolfe, J.K. Simmons, Jill Eikenberry. This is written by Diablo Cody, another movie this is the first time they've written a movie together since her and Jason Reitman have been involved in a movie together since Juno. And it sadly didn't get as much attention as it should have. I mean, it didn't get any Oscar buzz. It quickly came one at the box office, and it's a shame because, like I said, it's a really funny movie. It's a well-made film, and it works because Charlize Theron is giving it her all and showing that, this is somebody who can work in so many different facets, not just with drama, but also comedy as well. And it's just a really, really good film overall. Not quite as strong as Jason Reitman's other movies, but it's still Jason Reitman doing what he does best. And, Young Adult really does work very well. His next movie, on the other hand, is a different story, but we'll save that for 2014. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies as we reach the midway point of December 2011 with 3 big holiday releases all coming on the same weekend. This is a really odd weekend for one movie in particular we'll get to here. We have the sequel to Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law back again in Guy Ritchie's sequel to the 2009 film. Alvin and the Chipmunks are back with their third film, and boy, this is definitely where the wheels come off the car on this one. Alvin and the Chipmunks, Chipwrecked. And then the oddest one of them all, Tom Cruise is back as Ethan Hunt in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Not for the movie itself, but the releasing pattern is very interesting, as this was only opening up in under 400 theaters, and yet it made a huge impact at the box office that would later carry it over the holiday season. We'll delve into all that and more coming up tomorrow on the show. I'll explain why that's such an odd releasing strategy, but it worked in its favor too. But again, we'll take a look at these films coming up tomorrow on the show. With all that said, though, thank you so much for watching this, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do me the honor of hitting that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification button. And also, don't forget to check out the playlist and check out the last episode we did. Now, with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.